Hi, peeps. You're listening to She's My Cherry Pie, the baking podcast from the Cherry Bombe Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jessie Sheehan. I'm a baker, recipe developer, and author of 4 baking books, including Snackable Bakes. In each episode, I hang out with some of the sweetest bakers around and take a deep dive into their signature bakes. I'm so excited because this is the first joint episode we're doing with Radio Cherry Bombe. This episode will also air on Radio Cherry Bombe this coming Monday, June 29th. If you haven't listened to it yet, it's our flagship podcast with host Carrie Diamond, the founder of Cherry Bombe. Every Monday, Carrie interviews the most interesting women in the world of food, drink, and hospitality. From chefs to creatives to entrepreneurs, Carrie talks to the folks making it happen. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and catch up on previous episodes with special guests like Ina Garden, Padma Lakshmi, Stanley Tucci, Sophia Rowe, Wishbone Kitchen's Meredith Hayden, and so many more. My guests today are Connie McDonald and Pam Weeks. Connie and Pam are the founders of Levain Bakery, the beloved New York bakery known for its signature thick cookies. Levain started as a small bread shop on the Upper West Side in 1995. Connie and Pam were triathletes and developed a massive chocolate chip walnut cookie to keep their energy levels high during training. Connie created a small batch for the bakery on a particularly slow day, one of the last slow days they'd ever have, which quickly sold out, and the rest is history. Levain is now one of the most recognizable bakeries in the U.S., with fans lining up for their signature cookies at all of their 20-plus locations. They join me today to talk about their first wholesale bread business and the role Anthony Bourdain played in it, the call from Amanda Hesser, who was then a New York Times columnist, that basically put their famous cookie on the map, how they waited almost 2.5 decades to make a nut-free version of their chocolate chip walnut cookie, and about their fabulous book, Levain Bakery, A Story of Friendship, Community, and Cookies. I loved learning about the importance of community to Pam and Connie, which is on full display in their book, how they bake when they are in their own kitchen, spoiler alert, ingredients are measured by hand and by volume, and why they wrote more of a Levain Bakery memoir as opposed to a cookbook. I loved chatting with Connie and Pam, so stay tuned for our convo. The new issue of Cherry Bombe magazine is here. The theme is Game Changers, and we have 5 different covers featuring 7 superstars who have changed the game in a major way. This issue celebrates the visionaries, innovators, and changemakers who are reshaping the world of food, drink, and hospitality. If you're a subscriber, you'll receive your issue in the mail soon. Not a subscriber yet? Head to cherrybombe.com, subscribe, and get issues delivered directly to you. You can pick up an issue at one of the great bookstores and culinary shops that carry Cherry Bombe, like McNally Jackson and Kitchen Arts and Letters, right here in New York City. Let's chat with today's guests. Connie and Pam, so excited to have you on She's My Cherry Pie and to chat Levain Bakery with you and so much more.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here.
So you each grew up in very different kinds of food families, which we're totally going to unpack. But to start us off, can you each share your earliest memory of baking something? Pam, can you start us off?
Well, I think my earliest memory of baking something was actually a disaster because I think I was about 8 years old and my parents must have been out somewhere and I thought, oh, I'm going to make a pie. And it was a total disaster and I didn't want them to know I had done it. So I ran out and I put it in the woods so no one would see, which is I don't know.
I love that. And then everyone could smell it. What happened?
Yeah, what happened? What happened?
Mine was a disaster too. I didn't bake very much growing up at all. And I do remember, I guess I was trying to make a cake, like a birthday cake for maybe my mother. And I used granulated sugar to make the icing. And it was just, I couldn't understand what was wrong with it. I had no idea. Yeah, it was just a disaster.
At that time, we didn't realize, or I didn't realize, that nothing is really that much of a disaster,
Connie, what about an early baked good eating memory? Could be something like you bought at the gas station or in Brigham's.
I remember, and Pam was there, so it's not really that early.
Yeah.
But that's how few baked things we had in my house. But Pam and myself and a couple of friends drove upstate to go to a triathlon in Tupper Lake. And I remember we stopped to see my mother on the way up there. And she gave us lunch or something, and then she pulled out these Hostess cupcakes thing, and they were kind of cute because they already had a bite taken out of them. So I was just like, wow, this is, like, everyone was just like, they were wrapped in the plastic, but they had that little bite taken out.
Yeah. Oh, I loved toast. When I was little, I loved toast.
Oh, yes.
What about you?
Well, my mom she made cookies for us. We always had like a dessert after dinner. It was usually like a cake or a pie or something like that. So that made me just really want store-bought things. So I remember being in the supermarket and those Hostess cupcakes, the chocolate with kind of the pink marshmallow. I would beg her to buy those.
Yes. Are they snowballs?
Yes, that's what they're called. Yeah.
I love a snowball.
Yeah.
Pam, you are famously a huge dessert eater. You loved baking as a kid, came from a food-obsessed family. And your mom was this great cook and baker. And I know bread was one of her things. But can you tell us anything else about any of her baked good baking specialties?
She was really ahead of her time. She was really thoughtful about the nutritional value of things, and she was always cutting back on sugar and trying things. She got gourmet. She had all these amazing cookbooks, but she used them more, I think, for inspiration. Like, she was not afraid to change a recipe at all, and I think that's where I get that from. Don't be afraid to experiment. And she made every meal. I don't know how she did it,
So, Connie, you grew up in a kind of sweets-free environment, did not do a lot of baking growing up, as we've established. I think I read somewhere that your mom was eat to live as opposed to live to eat. Something that's really special is she did end up being insanely supportive of the bakery and was basically everybody's most reliable and favorite employee, which is so special.
And so true.
Once I think your older siblings were out of the house, even though it wasn't a big baking and cooking family, you kind of wanted to do these like special dinners for your mom and dad, or at least set the table in a special way. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, those are really good memories. I always made the same thing. So I wasn't, I didn't have a huge repertoire. So I took after my mother with that respect too. But, I always made the same thing. But I would set like a card table up in our living room, which we weren't allowed to go into when we were growing up, and just kind of set the tablecloth, some candles next to the fireplace, and we would sit in there and just like have a special time together, which was really nice.
Food and baking really came much later in life for you. And just can we have a little shout out to Woody Harrelson? Because one of your first restaurant jobs, right, when you were waiting tables?
My first job in New York City.
And Woody was a fellow. And
he was a runner.
Oh, my God, I love it.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was great.
I love that. So you guys first met in the late 80s. Pam was working in fashion for Norma Kamali. Connie was working in finance, and I have labeled you as the most unsuccessful finance bro ever. Which
Very accurate.
I think is that how you describe yourself.
I didn't wear a vest, but other than that, yes.
There was no Patagonia, whatever they wear. Pam, tell us about, I think they were at the Y, these morning swimming classes where you guys met.
There happened to be a whole group of us. We were all about the same age. We were all around 25. It was mostly men, actually. And so we all ended up in the same lane. And so we started doing workouts. And so I started kind of writing the workouts for all of us.
And then you guys sort of met, became roommates sort of very quickly because it was convenient for both of you. Yeah. And then, Connie, as you guys started to think about doing triathlons, so like taking your swimming to the next level, you guys would ride bikes together and kind of talk about your lives and what your dreams were while you were writing, et cetera. And tell us about some of I think you guys had a few ideas for what you might do before you landed on a bakery.
We did. We thought about things like, a bike tour company, maybe like a women's bike tour company, with Pam's amazing background in fashion, women's athletic apparel. We had a name that was Lululemon. I'm only kidding.
But that's such a good name.
Exactly.
We also weren't thinking that we were going to do something together originally.
Oh,
so
interesting. Kind of you were just both saying what
ideas that we had.
Yeah. Just kind of bouncing ideas off one another.
Yeah.
But clearly it was the shared idea that we both felt as though we wanted something of our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, because triathlons play a big role, like the catalyst for the Levain cookie empire in a sense, just for the unsporty amongst us, will one of you remind us what a triathlon is?
Sure. It's a 3-sport event.
Okay.
It's
hence
always
the tri.
Exactly. Exactly. It's always a swim. Well, usually always a swim, a bike, and a run. They vary in distances from a sprint, which could be a 500-yard swam a 10-mile bike ride and a 3-mile run, up to right before we opened the bakery, Pam and I completed, so we've done like all different distances, but we completed Ironman, which is a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a full marathon.
Wow. When did you say you had done that?
1994.
Wow. So before you guys opened?
Yeah.
Yes, the year before.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
It was really fun. We were part of
Yeah.
a team. And that's, the men that we were swimming with really like got us into it. And then we kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
If you love our show, did you know that we publish a free baking newsletter every Saturday to correspond with each new episode? Check out Cherry Bombe Substack to subscribe to our She's My Cherry Pie newsletter today, where you'll get exclusive insights about my guests on the show, their recipes, and other fun baking news and tips. Plus, check out our other free newsletters, where you'll find the latest food and fashion news and browse through our recipe catalog, which is filled with some really great recipes. While you're there, consider becoming a paid Substack subscriber to get access to exclusive content from Cherry Bombe Magazine, invites to our monthly Bomb Squad meetings with industry pros, and discounts to events like our annual Jubilee Conference. A subscription is just $6 per month or $55 a year. Learn more at cherrybomb.substack.com or click the link in our show notes. Connie was eventually fired from your finance job, and you went to culinary school and discovered literally on the first day that you loved baking bread. You had like an aha moment around bread.
Yeah. So, when I got fired, I thought that something has to change, and I had been cleaning up at parties and bartending and doing cooking. And, when people asked, do you do this? Of course, my answer was yes. And whether I knew how to do it or not, I just did it. When I decided that I had to do something different, I thought, well, maybe I could be a caterer. So I had seen this cooking school which was on the block where I lived, and I would pass it like on my way to the subway, and you could see them upstairs, and it looked so great. And I enrolled there at Peter Kump's New York Cooking School, it was called, in the culinary program. And so every student had to bake bread for the school for a week, and I had never baked bread before. They gave you a recipe. It was very, very simple, just like straight yeasted dough. Most people really just hated it, dreaded it. And I did it. Yeah, I fell in love with it.
I love that. And I also love that Peter Kump was like on your block. So you're like, oh, I'll go here.
I know. I know.
Because that's what became ICE, yes?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After he passed away, yes.
You guys were buddies at this point. Were you surprised with Connie's right turn into culinary?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I reaped the benefits of it because every night she was practicing what she had learned. So I would come home from work and she'd be like in the kitchen making these amazing things. And I was just like, wow, it's so good.
Tell us about, after culinary school for Connie ended up working at 1 Fifth Avenue. I know it was called something different then. Tell us about that place. Tell us about, I think they had no liquor license, so it looked like everybody was going to lose their job. Tell us how being at 1 Fifth turned into the first rendition of Levain.
Connie had been working with this chef and kind of a group of other sous chefs, I guess you would say. So they got this opportunity at 1 Fifth, and so they all went there, but they didn't, as you said, get a liquor license. So it was a really rocky start, and little by little they started kind of cutting back, and Connie realized that she was pretty high on the list to be next to be let go. And so she came to me and she said, what do you think about this idea? We both love baking. We both love baking bread. People at the restaurant seem to like the bread. What about approaching the chef and saying, can we trade product for space? And it was a huge space. That kitchen was gigantic. The pastry part of the kitchen was literally about as big as our 74th Street location. And I was like, sure, why not? We had nothing to lose.
You were just like, I don't need another restaurant job. Now I want to do my own thing. Like you kind of already knew that?
Yeah. So I was baking bread there. Yeah. And as Pam was saying, the breads, for whatever reason, there was like 6 or 7 different kinds of breads that we'd make. And they were popular. People wanted to, back then, people immediately got a bread basket when you went into a restaurant, and which was always so nice, right?
Yeah.
And it was filled with different kinds of breads, which was great. So the idea was that we would approach Anthony Bourdain, who was the chef at that time. I would go off the payroll, and we would try to get wholesale bread accounts. Mm-hmm. And so it was like no risk. Yeah. So it's like, let's just try.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work out in 6 months, I'll get another job.
Right.
It was just, let's just try.
Yeah. Tell us about Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, well, he was
in the restaurant.
Yeah. So as Pam was saying, he came in, the chef that I went to 1/5 with was let go, and they brought him in. And I remember the woman who owned the restaurant at that time said, there's a new chef coming in for an interview. And I was like, okay. So I heard that I was closest to the entrance door, and you could hear like these chains and boots kind of coming down the hallway and smell cigarettes, right? So, he just kind of stops it, and she's like, hey. I was like, hi. He's like, I'm here for an interview. And so I just,
Right.
was like, wow. And he ended up getting the job. Really, really nice person. So different from what the usual, he came in, put up Harvey Keitel posters, the Harvey Keitel movie posters all over the kitchen, smoked in the kitchen, but he was a really good cook.
Yeah.
Really nice person. He was so supportive of us and our idea. When we approached him with the idea, thought it was a great idea, went for it right away. And even after we left 1/5, he came to visit us like on 74th Street.
He did?
Yeah, he was friends with Jacques Torres, who was, on Amsterdam. So he was great.
When you made that plan, was the idea that you would still supply bread for 1/5?
Yeah, so we
They would
bartered.
be one of
We
their
bartered.
wholesale-
Exactly.
Right.
We bartered. We gave them their bread
Yep.
and then we bought our own supplies in the meatpacking district over there.
And I kept my day job, so
Right.
we had.
Yep. I was going to ask you about that. Did that feel strange? Like Connie was doing the baking and then you were still with Norma and then you would like come at night.
Yeah.
And then on
the
weekends.
Yeah. It felt a little strange, but it was, we needed to have some cash flow. Really, we had to, because we didn't have huge savings. And that's why this was such a great opportunity, to kind of see if this idea had any viability.
Yeah. And at this point, you had no plans to like expand and maybe we should do cookies. You were just like, we love bread. Let's be a bread bakery.
We made the cookies for ourselves, but we had no.
We are going to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
When you opened the first Levain in 1995 on 74th Street, you guys sold 7 different kinds of bread and coffee. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about the different breads if you remember? And also, Connie, were you doing all of the development? Like, how did that work?
We did it together. I think we both really love that part of it, but in the end, we kind of had to divide and conquer, and we're pretty good about doing that. You do this, I'll do this. We made 3 types of semolina. We made a seeded semolina with black and white sesame seeds, an olive herb semolina, and then a semolina raisin with a cornmeal crust. We made whole wheat raisin walnut, which we still make, a whole grain that we still make. We did sourdough, which we've just started making again. Yeah. We also did a bunch of focaccias, which were so delicious. Yeah.
This is a good story. Although now that you're telling me that you actually have restarted sourdough, but Connie, will you tell us about the decision to stop making sourdough, which I think involved like a car where the starter went everywhere and maybe a spill on the bake. Tell me about that.
At this point, we had opened our location in Wainscott, which is out on the east end of Long Island, and I was driving out there I guess it must have been like a Thursday afternoon to go for the weekend to start getting ready. And I had the starter in the backseat of my car. The starter was on thin ice anyway. Because,
had it already spilled all over the floor of the bakery?
and it's really challenging when you're not the only caretaker, when Pam or I aren't the only caretakers of the starter, and people wouldn't feed it. It would get sick, and then we'd have to... So anyway, it was already on thin ice.
Yeah.
And then I stopped short, and the starter just went everywhere in my car. I think that was... the RIP.
Can I just say, just when a little bit of it spills in your kitchen or is on your clothes, it's bad.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it covering your bakery floor, as I know it did once, and also a car. A car.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right, we're jumping around a little because Wainscott came after what I'm about to ask you guys. But tell us about, I think you had a friend who was working for Williams-Sonoma and suggested you guys maybe enter one of your breads in sort of a contest to become part of, I assume, the Williams-Sonoma like gift catalog where you could order through Williams-Sonoma. So, Connie, tell us about that.
So, yes, my very good friend, Donata, was a marketing person at Williams-Sonoma in San Francisco and called us and she's like, you guys should really submit something for the Easter catalog and just see what happens. We're really excited by the idea and kind of came up with, it was almost like an Easter panettone kind of, right?
It's a pretty classic Italian Easter bread, I think.
I was never a real candied fruit person.
I love it.
She loves it, but I can't.
Yeah.
candied fruit.
Yeah.
So anyway, we kind of made our own festive rendition of this, and it was really delicious.
It's really good.
So
it's so
good.
pretty. It's a braided loaf.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We submitted it. There was some interest, and then so Donata calls us and said, "You're kind of in the finals for getting this bread in the catalog, but there's one problem. They need a bread. We're having a meeting to decide tomorrow." And I'm like, and they're in San Francisco. Pam was like, well, we have to do this. And so she looked into getting a courier, like overnight FedEx. And it was definitely in the many hundreds of dollars to do that, which is totally out of our
budget.
But we decided to do it, right?
Yeah. We ended up doing same day.
Same day.
Yeah.
So
does that even exist anymore?
I don't know.
I think it does. But I can't imagine what it costs now. It was, I want to say it was like $300 or $400 then, which to us was a fortune.
Right. So we arranged for the courier to come. Let's say they were supposed to come at like 6
a.m.
Yeah. Right. So the bread is coming out of the oven at like 5, and we can hear the door at 1 Fifth Avenue open and close. It's FedEx. We're like, oh my God, we still have the mitts on because taking it out of the ovens. We're like, all right, well, just took it and threw it in a cardboard box, taped it up, and off it went. And several hours later, Donata calls. She goes, my God, you guys, it was like still like steaming when we opened it. They chose you.
Yeah.
So it was amazing.
It's so good. So good. Shout out to FedEx.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, boom.
All right. I feel like I've buried the lead here, but Pam, can you tell us about the cookies and about what Connie did on that fateful afternoon when she put them on the menu?
Oh, yeah. So I was just a couple weeks after opening, and she was there alone. It was very quiet. I mean, people can't believe that we had moments where there was no one in the bakery. I mean, I thought
hours.
I thought it would be like, I was like, is anyone ever going to come in and buy a cup of coffee? But I came back from wherever I had been, and she had made a batch of these cookies in a KitchenAid mixer, which literally was about a dozen cookies, and put them out and sold them already. They were gone.
And they were a cookie you guys had already developed together for your triathlon.
Yeah, we'd been making them at home just because, I love my dessert, as we know.
Yeah.
And the thing that's so great about this cookie and that we loved, the size made it really shareable. The size also made it really delicious because you have the crunchy outside and then the softer inside and, lots of chocolate and walnuts. And both of us agree that, nuts with our cookies and chocolate are delicious.
But also for your athletic, the parts
they had a lot of nutrition.
Yeah. But I just mean that they could feed you so that you had the stamina to do the insane things that you were doing.
They were very satisfying.
Yeah. I did want to flag, when you talk about the cookies being shareable, I'm like, blasphemy. No sharing. I'm a kind of pro-jumbo anyway, but I'm just like, never. I mean, I can't even give anyone a bite. I'm just like, no, get your own.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like I like to have my own too. But I try not to eat it all at once. I try to spread it over 2 days.
Once when it's warm. It's funny. I thought it was about 1.5 to 2 months after you opened, but it was actually much sooner.
Yeah, it was pretty soon. Happened. Well, after we got into the 74th Street space. Yeah.
Connie, you made them 6 ounces, like you were weighing them even back then. Oh, maybe not.
I don't think I was weighing them.
Our hands.
Right. But you were making them big.
Them big.
Yeah.
And it just turns out that they were 6 ounces.
Yeah.
We finally weighed them.
So we never thought it was going to be a 6 ounce cookie. It was just like,
it was just like,
how much? We were like, how much does this weigh?
And I also loved that you hadn't even costed them out. So like you were charging like 75 cents a cookie. And Pam was like, what are you doing?
But I think that sort of helped, unfortunately or fortunately, like solidify what we were both going to do. I'm much more focused on the details. Yep. She's focused on.
But that's good because you need that in any partnership, marriage, any of those things. It's nice when people bring different things.
Yeah.
Well, you only made a dozen that day, but that really the recipe today is not that different.
No.
Connie, tell us about the call. 1997, Amanda Hesser. I think Pam answered the phone. Tell us that story.
Yeah, Pam and I were at the bakery on 74th Street by ourselves and
cleaning.
Mopping the floor and things. And the phone rings, and
now the cookies have become like a staple. They're
part of
the menu.
If I remember correctly, it was still only the chocolate chip walnut.
It was.
Yeah. So we were mopping and cleaning and everything. And I think Pam was like washing dishes and I was mopping the floor. So I was closest to the phone. So I answered the phone. And it was Amanda Hesser from the New York Times. And at that time, Amanda was as pretty much unknown as we were. So much so that I thought she was selling us a subscription or an ad to the New York Times.
I love that so
And
much.
so she went on to explain that she was a food writer for the New York Times. She wrote the Temptation column, which was a big deal back then. Remember the food section was huge in the New York Times.
I just
on
remember
Wednesdays.
Wednesday was like
Right,
the
Wednesday was
most exciting
It was.
day of the week.
It was,
Yeah.
yes. That and
Yes.
Sundays when it was the weddings.
Yes.
But yes. So she went on to say that she was including us, or her Temptations column that week was going to be about the bakery.
Remind us what the Temptations called. Was it just like nice bites around the city? Is that what?
No, it was kind of a review, and
Okay.
it was a relatively large piece.
I know. I don't know what you call it. It was like a.
It wasn't just a 2-sentence.
Oh, I know.
thing. It
Yeah,
was-
yeah.
And so she just basically went on to fact check. So
Mm-hmm.
didn't elaborate as to what she was going to say in the
bad.
article or anything. And so, I hang up, I tell Pam, made sure that she got 3 E's in weeks. And so the next morning, or Wednesday morning, right?
Yep.
Wednesday morning, I said, I'm gonna go to the newsstand. And, Pam's like, again, not to be redundant, but said, if it's not, read it. And if it's not good, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Because we can't,
We can't afford
we
it.
can't afford it.
it. And so, but it was really good. And so I bought like 4 copies, and it went on to say that, I think the title of it was like, from a tiny brownstone comes.
It says from a small
Oh,
bakery.
thank you. There we go.
From a small bakery, a virtual mountain of a cookie.
Right.
So exciting.
It was exciting.
Oh my!
It was so
gosh.
exciting, and the phones started ringing right away. Everybody in the country read the New York Times, and we were getting calls from all over Texas, California. It was really exciting, and people were like, "How do I get these cookies?" And luckily, because we had done that Williams-Sonoma shipping, we started thinking about, how can we start shipping
Yeah.
these? So that was
The beginning
Well,
of
then
that.
Pam's wheels started turning, and I had no idea about websites,
packaging.
anything, And so she put all that together, the website,
Yeah, I mean, it definitely after that, so much PR, Unwrapped TV show.
Well, that's
out,
the thing.
Roker.
Once
It was still
seems-
slowly, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But it seems as though once the New York Times recognizes you and shows interest, all of a sudden it piques the interest of other outlets.
Yeah.
And that seems to be, it definitely got things. Then the Food Network was amazing back then, and all of those Food Network shows that they air over and over and over again was amazing.
So people kept seeing it.
Yes.
I actually wanted to just ask about the Bobby Flay experience. So I think this is what he always does, but you guys didn't actually know that you were going to be competing with him when you were competing with him. You arrive at this venue thinking you're doing one thing, like, demonstrating or something, and then instead it's like you're competing with Bobby. But this was my question. If you're competing with Bobby in front of all these people and it's being televised, how did you keep the cookie recipe a secret while it was being televised as you made it? Or was it
We're
not
good
like
at that.
Or maybe, I guess you didn't have any packaging, so people don't necessarily know what it was.
There's no enormous secret, which is kind
No,
of
I
like
know.
what makes
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cookie like so good. It's just like really basic ingredients.
Simple, delicious.
A lot of people, which is great. It's the greatest form of flattery, right? That people are trying to figure it out, copy it, and they often make it more complicated than
it really is. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about some of the cookie attributes just for those maybe who live under rocks. I think the most important thing, besides, the quality ingredients, and it's simpler than you'd think, is just the size is so key because it contributes to the crispy outside and the more molten inside.
Yeah.
And when you guys shaped them, you started, as you said, just like using your hand.
We still do.
You
Every
still-
cookie is still hand scaled.
But you're still putting 6 ounces on a scale.
We're still weighing it,
But
yes.
back then you
Yeah.
weren't even weighing it. You were just like eyeballing.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah,
But once we started selling them, we started. Once I got
once
involved.
things changed real quick.
And, if we ever wanted anyone else to be able to help
Of
us, we
course.
had to make it.
Of course. And I thought this was interesting. When you guys were developing the recipe, most of the tweaking and whatever was about maintaining the structure. Trying to make sure, like you would play with the quantity or the ratio of chips and walnuts, but mostly you just wanted to make sure that when you plopped it down on the baking sheet and put it into the oven, that it was going to spread a certain amount. You need to spread a little bit, otherwise it's a hockey puck. But just enough that you still get a hump and you get all the yummy.
Maintain that structure.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is sort of interesting too. So in the beginning, we just had the bread ovens. So we had to figure out how to bake them in the bread ovens, which were
500 degrees, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that you can't control the temperature.
We couldn't turn it down because of the bread.
And they were such old ovens. It took to change a temperature on an oven that might be 70 years old.
Yeah.
It really takes, you pretty much didn't touch it.
Yeah, we bought it secondhand, thirdhand, I don't know what, on the Bowery. And it was a little quirky. Like, it did what it did.
And then eventually I read that you got your convection.
We did.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was a long time after.
Like in the 2000s?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. I also thought this was interesting. Even though you guys, I think both of you love dark chocolate, bittersweet chocolate in bar form, etc., you really think semi-sweet is the best for your chocolate chip walnut.
We do. And we actually, that was one thing. We didn't mess with a lot of things, but we did try different chocolates.
Yeah.
And we just came back to that. It was just, there's something really familiar and delicious and it just was right.
It's funny. I feel like it's a slightly controversial opinion. I'm not a bittersweet chocolate person. I'm just not. Sometimes I will put it in a cookie, and I do enjoy that. I just love the idea that in the end, semi-sweet was best for you.
Yeah.
Up until 2019, you just had 4 cookies on the menu. The chocolate chip walnut, the oatmeal raisin, which I think you, Pam, maybe like for breakfast. Yep. The dark chocolate chip, which is I think of like a Valentine's Day, or that was
Yep.
And then the dark chocolate peanut butter chip, which I think was maybe your mom's recipe. Mom's recipe. Connie, tell us about creating the 2-chip chocolate chip cookie, which you held out for 25 years, but you eventually wanted to appease the people who said, I can't eat nuts or I hate nuts.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the customer requests that we had for, like you said, like 20-odd years.
We felt badly for the people who were allergic to nuts, but the people who said they didn't like them, we were always like, just try one. If you don't like it, we'll give you something else. But I think that you're going to like it because it's not
a nut cookie.
It's not a nut-forward cookie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I don't know if I should say this, if we're going to
say whatever.
We had a private equity investment.
Yep.
This is what it took for Pam and I to finally change our mind.
And they were like, you don't have a choice. You have to do this.
Please. They were very nice about it, but please, may we...
Yes.
Asked nicely.
Yeah.
Maybe please try.
Added the dark chocolate to that particular cookie.
Because we needed
two types of chocolate.
Yeah, we needed to have more going on.
Yeah. You guys actually didn't even know if you would be successful or not for about 8 to 10 years. And then, in 2007, you finally turned a profit. And this comes up a lot in the book, which we're 100% going to talk about in about a second. But the location of the bakery, New York City, and now you're everywhere, but location and community, super, super important to you guys. So you stuck it out for all this time. And I loved learning that like all the neighborhood kids would like be your employees. I've never owned a business, but I could imagine you keep going despite maybe not making all the money that you had hoped you would because of this community that's holding you up.
Right. We absolutely loved it. We were an actual safe haven. We had that in the door. And I'll never forget, not just for children and things, because it was always the place where a lot of children came where they could go in and make their first purchase by themselves and things like that. But also, I'll never forget, we were kind of a safe haven for everyone. And I'll never forget this one dog that had been... It was a rescue dog, Nicole, and she was always so nervous. And she finally became very comfortable with her owner at the bakery. But somehow Nicole broke off her leash one day and came running into the bakery. And like 5 or 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes later, her owner came in like, she's here, it's okay. So I think that was so heartwarming for Pam and I to, over and over again, we say this, that 74th Street was the goal, to create a place where we would work for the rest of our working lives, and to have it be so personally, emotionally satisfying, where the money really, honest to goodness, didn't really, I don't think, matter.
I think that our philosophy is that if you create a great place to work, a great place to visit, a great product, then everything else falls into place. Like if you're focused on the community that you're creating, I think that things work out.
Yeah. But I also think we were also kind of like a safe haven for like our employees.
Yeah.
Like we have so many people come who just moved to New York and for whatever reason, like their families had kind of like disowned them or they're finding themselves. And when I think about so many people who were like really blossomed in the bakery because of the friends they made and how comfortable they felt, and it's really gratifying.
Yeah.
Well, and our goal in expanding is that, we create community bakeries like this anywhere that we go. So we've been really careful about our expansion.
Yeah. We're about to talk about the book, but before we do, please tell us about the new cookie that I think just launched. Raspberry white chocolate pistachio or raspberry pistachio white chocolate, however you guys
want to say it.
Tell us about this cookie.
Well, we first got a sample of this raspberry chip, I guess about 6 or 7 years ago, and we loved it, but we didn't really know what we'd do with it at that time. And so, we're always thinking about ideas for new products, especially cookies, because they're not so easy to come up with, and that we want to make things that are really special and delicious and that we love and that feel right for us. And so we were thinking about it again this spring, and we both also really love pistachios. Like that's always been my favorite nut, I think. And we started playing with it, and we came up with this idea, and we love it. We think it's so delicious. It's so beautiful. It's gorgeous, and you want to eat it. And we think it's as good as it looks.
Yum, 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 yum. Also, tell us about ice cream, which I think makes an appearance at the bakeries when the weather gets warm. Tell us about ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah, ice cream has arrived at the bakeries, and it's great. I mean, one of my favorite things that I find kind of irresistible is our dark chocolate cookie with ice cream. It's just so good. So anyway, we have partnered in every market with like a local ice cream maker, and we're doing ice cream sandwiches. It's like a mini cookie. I think it might be 2 ounces. 1.5 ounces on each side with ice cream in the middle. So we're doing ice cream sandwiches, also like a la mode. So it's just like a scoop of ice cream in a dish with.
I was going to say the way you'd like it.
Yeah, what I want right now is an affogato.
Yeah.
Which we're doing too. Delicious. We have really great, espresso. So it's been really great.
Yeah.
And
are the ice cream sandwiches pre-made?
No,
they're made to order.
The 1.5 ounces.
Those are ready. Those are baked.
And of course, what flavors?
I think it's the chew chip and the dark chocolate.
Yeah, we're switching it up a little bit, but basically that it's those two.
The chew chip and the dark chocolate.
Yeah, and then we're also switching up. Sometimes there's special ice cream flavor as well. So
often it's just vanilla.
Yes,
not just
vanilla,
not just
often
only
it's vanilla.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
And I think in one of our Boston locations, they're doing like a coconut caramel crackle.
One more question, just because I'm just planning all the things I'm going to get when I go into the 74th Street. Okay, if you get the a la mode one, can you get the large cookie with a scoop of ice cream?
Oh, that's okay. It's a large cookie.
It's a large cookie.
Yes, I should have said that. Yes.
Okay, PHEW.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, tell us about your gorgeous book, Levain Bakery, A Story of Friendship, Community, and Cookies. I love the color, the blue color, which I know is your like branding color. I loved, what do you call this part of the book where like the edges of the pages are blue?
Don't you love that?
I love that little.
That's what we call it.
It's a really technical term, listeners. Exactly. It's called the edges of the pages. But I love that it's just like this blue masterpiece. But this is what I thought was really interesting. It's actually not a cookbook. I mean, there are 5 recipes in the book. 2 of them aren't on the menu anymore, or maybe never were. But it's like a coffee table book, in a sense. It's the story of the baker. It's like a biography.
Like a memoir or something.
Yeah. Was that always the plan? Like you were always like, I don't think we're ever writing a cookbook, peeps. We want to just tell the story of what we've done.
Well, the reason we did this book is to tell the story of the brand, because as we grow, it's impossible to stay as connected to everybody and everything as we once were when it was just a few of us at 74th Street. We were really encouraged to write a book about the story for our team members so that as new people came on board, if they didn't know us personally, they could read and understand why we do things the way we do.
Right, because that is, in our opinion, the core of what makes the bakery different, is the community, and I know that word is overused, but it's real and it's what makes us different. And as we grow, we're doing everything we can to hold on to that.
Yeah, it's really important. And what I think was so gratifying for the 2 of us in doing that is and reaching out to people who we've worked with, who've been customers, and asking them if they wanted to contribute and be a part of it. Everybody said yes. And the things they wrote and said were so amazing. It's like, okay, what we did, like our life's work was meaningful.
Yeah, no, the community is 100% a character in the book. Like it's all about their photographs of all of your employees, regulars, first customers, last customers. Like it's really special.
Well, at one point I was like, we don't even need to say anything or write anything. We should just put all these stories in there. And so we tried to do that.
Yeah. Tell me about the decision to self-publish.
Originally, the idea was that it was going to be sort of an in-house brand book.
So talk to me about that. So if it's an in-house brand book, why use a publisher? Just because publishers have distribution, what was the pro con?
We didn't want to write a cookbook.
Yeah.
The feeling, as I understand it, is that a larger publisher, rather than not have published.
So over the years, we talked to a lot of people. We met so many people, and we talked to a lot of people in the cookbook industry, and people came into the bakeries, and people always encouraged us to write a book. And we talked to them about it. For some people, really early on, it was clear they only wanted our recipes. And for others, they said, oh, no, you don't have to put recipes in. You can just write a book without the recipes. And then you'd get to a certain point, and they'd be like, well, if it doesn't have the cookie recipes, we're not going to publish it. By the time we had gotten to that point, we had also been approached many times by people who were interested in investing. And none of them were right. But at one point, we were talking to somebody he was amazing. He had his own business. He was interested in our business. He was a good customer, and we talked to him a bunch about a lot of different things. And we said to him, like, would you be interested in this business if we published our recipes? And he says, absolutely not.
Wow.
And so we had no idea we were going to take on an investment at that time, but we wanted to leave that option open. And, he was really clear that he wouldn't make an investment in the business if our recipes were in a book. Mm-hmm. So that, I think, was the thing that really ultimately was like, okay, we're not publishing our cookie recipes. It wasn't that it's like, oh, we can never publish our cookie recipes. But in the book, the recipes that we did include are things that we have or still do make at the bakery. And they are some of our favorite things. I mean, we don't make anything that we don't love. We were really excited to share those recipes.
Yeah, like the whole wheat almond raisin roll.
Yeah, and I love the bombolacini.
I read that wasn't on the menu anymore.
It's not, which is really sad. But that's a really fun thing. Like at the bakery, we made it with the seedless raspberry jam. But then for ourselves, as a bakery team, we always like to have little parties and things. Yeah. And we'd make them and fill them with different things. And Connie and Wainscott, one year with her team there, they would secretly fill them with different things. And you'd have to guess what was in them. Aww. So it's a fun...
Connie, tell us about the family meal pizza recipe that's in the book. Is that something that you are making for a family meal? I mean,
we used to make it a lot.
Yeah.
Like we used to,
every weekend.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, we used to make it a lot. I love pizza.
Yeah.
And it's simple. It's just like a really great tomato sauce, really great fresh mozzarella and basil. We always used to joke that, sometimes it came in really handy as a pizza offering as opposed to a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you show up with a pizza,
totally,
everything's always going to be okay.
You'll definitely make friends. Yeah. And the blueberry muffins recipe, which is in the book, which you guys still sell, that has a great origin story. Connie, can you tell us the origin story of blueberry muffins?
It's so funny. We had just opened our location in Wainscott in 2000, and I'll never forget, because of construction delays and things, we had missed, and Wainscott is in East Hampton, so it's a very seasonal market, and it really was then. So we had missed Memorial Day, and so here we were. It's like the beginning of July, and we were kind of behind the 8 ball and things. And anyway, someone came in to the bakery and said, I read in Hamptons Magazine that you guys have the best blueberry muffins in the Hamptons. And I looked at Pam and I was like,
we do.
Well, we do. And one of our employees was like, we do? And we were like, we do now. And so Pam
I ran the big Kmart, got some muffin tins.
Muffin tins and some blueberries. And we just took a recipe, took something out and put the blueberries in, and to this day it's still that same recipe.
I love that. Well, I understand now why it couldn't be a cookbook in terms of investors, et cetera. Is that sort of the same reason why you guys don't share the recipe anywhere? even before you were writing this book or et cetera, it's not like you can find the Levain cookie recipe on the Food Network or in Martha or sort of same reason that you worried that investors.
I'm not sure that investors so much. I just think that it was something that we thought was really valuable to us.
Yeah.
Well, and also people weren't so interested in recreating it early on. Like it wasn't a big deal that we weren't publishing recipes at all. People.
Right, but now it's so different.
Now it's different.
Well, and there was a very funny story, though, that I think was very funny.
I'll laugh, I promise.
We were participating in the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And the idea was that Pam and I will go down there. We'll make cookies for like 3 or 4 different events, like Burger Bash, big things, right? And we
it was
made
a lot
them,
of work.
Yeah, we made them. We used the Ritz-Carlton kitchen in South Beach, and so the chef calls us and he said, "You guys, I'm going to order all of your ingredients so that you have everything when you're here." And so Pam was, always thinking, so she's like, "Well, I'll give him all the ingredients, but I'm not going to give him like the leavening."
Yep.
I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, because that was always a debate. Like, what do you use?
Yeah. So she decides to carry the baking powder in her purse on the airplane and go through.
I'm a carry-on.
Well, whatever. In your carry-on. And go through security with it.
Yeah.
The white substance.
Oh, my gosh.
Powder. Well, off she gets carted.
Yeah.
The gloves come on with the security. It was just very funny. It was like, well, there goes you.
Yeah. Have fun. I guess I'm going to South Beach alone.
Best kept secret.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Connie and Pam. And I just want to say that you guys are my cherry pies.
Aw, thank you so much. What a treat.
That's it for today's show. Don't forget to follow She's My Cherry Pie on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And tell your pals about us. She's My Cherry Pie is a production of the Cherry Bombe Podcast Network. Our producers are Carrie Diamond, Catherine Baker, and Jenna Sadu. Thank you so much for listening to She's My Cherry Pie, and happy baking.